So Persona 5 has been like one of the big games this year, if not the biggest, and it's probably going to end up in a lot of people's Game of the Year lists, even though it's only, essentially barely the beginning of the year. Well, maybe we're 4 months into it. Whatever. My point still stands. And me being the keeping up with trends kind of guy that I am when it comes to games anyway, I bought it and I played it, and if you've been following me on Twitter, you know that I really, really liked it. If you haven't been following me on Twitter, well, I really, really liked it. It beat out Super Metroid as my favorite game of all time. That's how good it is. But I think and I wanted to like talk a little bit about it. I didn't want to do a proper review because I haven't done like an actual review in a really long time, and I don't know if I ever will again, or if I do, when that'll happen. But I just wanted to talk about it, and I think to really talk about it in a way that I want to and would enjoy, I would have to just sit here and talk about why I liked it so much, and mainly why it just beat out Super Metroid as my favorite game. And to do that, well, I think I have to spend a little bit of time and talk about where I am in life right now. Initially, I had a version of this planned in my head, where I went like really into detail and spent a really long time talking about stuff like this, and told just this entire long story, and it was a lot more open. But looking at it, I don't really want to do that. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit about how I am right now mentally, I guess. I'm not I'm not having any major issues. I'm not in deep financial debt. I'm not dying. I'm not depressed. At least I don't think I am. But generally right now, and for the last probably a year, almost 2 years now. Well, not almost, it'll be 2 years like in October, but for the last year or so, I haven't been great. When I started making YouTube videos, I lived in Jackson in Wyoming. I moved there in late 2009 or early 2010, I can't remember. And I lived there when I started watching YouTube videos pretty regularly, and I lived there when I started making them, even the old terrible ones that aren't up anymore, because, oh god, I'm happy those aren't up. And I lived there, like I said, for 5 years, until about October of 2015. In that time, I met a lot of really good friends, who I still try to keep in touch with right now. And it's where I did a lot of my growing, I guess, as a person, and learned more about my interests. It's when I really started to get into games. It's when I really started to be active on the internet, mostly because I didn't have internet a lot of the time at all when I was a kid. But then in late 2015, in October, I don't know how many times I've said that now, I moved to where I currently am now, which is in South Dakota. And I kind of lost most of the contact with my friends. I still texted them every now and then, and I still do. I try to do a little bit more regularly. But it's not, I can't go and see them. It used to be I would hang out with my friends usually every day, because we would have time to sit and do stuff, because, we were in the same town. But now I can't really do that, and not a lot of us really enjoy talking over computer screens on the internet, so I don't talk with them super often. And in the time that I've been here, I've sort of lost most of the contact with them. I still do try to talk fairly regularly. I text them every couple days and we converse for a little bit. But generally, I'm not as social as I was. I've never been the most social person, but especially now. And when I lived at the first place here, because I moved again in November of last year to just a different place in the same town. And when I was there, I had basically nowhere to go. I was in the middle of nowhere, so I mostly had isolated myself and was in my room most of the time. There were genuinely points when I would not leave the house for a week or 2 weeks, save for, to take out trash or to go check the mail. And I don't really count that as leaving the house, because I'm still within the same general vicinity. But then when we moved to this place, sort of I got a little more social because I could go. I live near town and I can go in and I can walk places. But for the most part, I'm still isolated, and I've sort of justified that to myself by saying, "Oh well, I talk to people online. And I speak on Discord kind of pretty regularly, and I still talk to people on Skype, and then also on Twitter." But I don't really feel like that's the same thing. And so being alone and with my thoughts most of the time, I have not been super happy about most things. I wouldn't say that I'm depressed, mostly because I don't have the medical knowledge to decide if I'm depressed, but a lot of the time has been spent sitting and just kind of not being happy about anything. You may have noticed from the last video and my lack of uploading and some of the stuff that I've said just in previous videos beforehand, I haven't had the greatest outlook on my own content, and that is mostly because I haven't. I still do enjoy making it, but part of me, a good chunk of me, when I upload something goes, "Oh well, nobody's gonna like that, that's terrible, but you put it out anyway. What are you thinking?" And so that's always in the back of my mind, but generally I am happy with my content. It's mostly ideas that are weird. And, sorry, my thoughts are a little scattered, because I still, am thinking this up off the top of my head. But that's sort of the lead into it, is that when Persona 5 came out earlier this month, on the 4th, I think it was, I'm not in a great place, emotionally. Not depressed, bad emotionally, just kind of down in the dumps all the time, constantly about everything. Doesn't help that the skies are usually gray, so that's not better. And so Persona 5 came out. I had heard about how good it was. I got it, I think, a couple days after it came out. I started playing it, and I'd played it a lot. I only finished it the other day. I've played, I think, 140 some hours, and I'm doing a New Game Plus playthrough right now. And I had started to think it, as I was going through the game, I was like, man, this is a really good game. It's probably going to end up in one of my favorite games of all time. And then it slowly started to climb the ranks of that. And then by the time I was nearing the end, I was like, this is seriously contesting with Super Metroid for my favorite game of all time. And then I finished it, and I was like, yes, this is definitely my favorite game of all time. And the main reason for that is something, generally I feel this is a little sad to say, but Persona 5 has shown me, I guess, the benefits of being social and having friends and talking to people. Because like I said, I've been cooped up mostly in my house pretty consistently for the last about a year. I do go outside. I try to get outside pretty regularly. I can't really right now because the weather's really bad and it's cold. But I walk down to a GameStop. I go to a bookstore. I try to get outside at least every couple days. But I don't really converse with anybody. And when I'm sitting alone and playing Persona 5 and the social links, even though I know it's not a complete replacement for actual physical contact with people, it's a good substitute for a little bit, because with the social links and how much you actually converse with people in the game, you really start to get to know them as people. And so, again, like I said, this is kind of, I think, sad to me personally, that in a game, I'm more happy talking to these fictional people currently than I am in most of my other time of existing. And so doing that playing the game has really kind of brightened my spirits, and more so going through the main story, I've started to get a better outlook on things in general. Over the last year, in this insane spout of negativity that I've sort of talked about, that I talked about in my last video, how everything is just negative, and how I am a lot of the time a negative person, but I try to be a little bit more positive. It's especially so with Persona 5. Through playing that, I've sort of started to, I don't know if I could pinpoint exactly what it is with the game in particular that's got me to start to be a little bit more positive, but just generally the experience has got me to think a bit more, what's the right word I'm thinking of? A little more, I guess, just positively about everything. And then more so even in the story, again, I don't know if I could quite pinpoint exactly why this is, but I've started to be a little bit more confident in what I create and what content I put out. I'm working on multiple videos right now, not both, because I got more than two, all of which I'm really happy with how they're turning out. Still, the Kamen Rider videos that I'd mentioned in the last video, I'm working on those, and I'm really happy with how those are coming. I got an actual showcase ready, similar in the vein to the Forgotten Consoles thing. And right now, I am happier working on those videos than I think I've been in a really, really long time. And I would credit a lot of that to playing Persona 5 and getting me to think a little bit more positively and having at least a substitute for human interaction for a little bit to get me to feel a little less like a hermit. And I think I guess maybe it is a little bit extreme to say, but this is just the way that I feel. Had it not really been for Persona 5 and me playing it and spending all of my time with it mostly, I probably would not be as I wouldn't be as enjoying making my content as much. I would not be enjoying existing as much. I would not be really, I wouldn't enjoy anything as much right now had I decided to skimp on Persona 5 because I'd not played any of the others. And I am going back to play some of the other games in the franchise, mainly 4 and 3. Probably will play the other two, though. And how do I continue on from that sentence? Give me a second, because I'm still, like I said, still gathering my thoughts, and this is all just off the top of my head. But yeah, I've in short to that, I've just been a lot more positive after having played the game, and I've been enjoying everything a lot more. I really feel like it's kind of impacted me. Again, I don't know if maybe it is saying a bit much, maybe it's just kind of good timing and I'm getting just in a better mood overall, but I really feel like it's through playing Persona 5 and substituting human interaction for a little bit, because I have been also drifting a little bit away from my online friends, but having played this, I want to really get back into talking to people online a lot more that I have sort of neglected. Because I used to be online and talking to people all the time. I used to be really regularly conversing with online friends. But in the last year or so, I've sort of started to isolate myself again like that. And playing Persona 5 and doing the social links and being able to sort of... I'm saying the same thing over and over again. Being able to substitute social interaction like that has shown me how much fun it can really be. Again. And so I'm working on getting back and actually talking to people. The next step definitely is to hopefully go outside and just strike up a conversation with somebody at the bookstore with similar interests, because I've definitely had chances to do that, but my weird nervousness has stopped me from doing so. And I really feel like it's sort of currently changed my life, not dramatically, not immediately, it's going to be over time, but my life has been altered, my outlook on life has been altered pretty greatly because of playing Persona 5. And honestly, I don't feel like that would have happened with any other game. And if it had, it probably would have been it would have been a lot far off from now. And I don't know how I would have been in about a year. And I think that is the big reason, or I don't think, I can tell you, that is the big reason why Persona 5 has ascended to my favorite game of all time. And like Super Metroid is still a second, but it's not even like a close second, I don't think. There's this giant gap between number 1 and number 2. Just because Super Metroid for a while was my favorite game, just because it was a game that I had more fun with than anything else. Persona 5 is my favorite game because it's a game that actually has impacted me and changed how I think and how I want to enjoy things and how I want to go about my life. And very rarely does a game do that. Even some of games that I've talked about before in the past that I really like Earthbound, and haven't really talked a lot about it, but Telltale's The Walking Dead, are all games that have affected me, but none have changed how I think and how I feel as a person. And that is why I feel Persona 5 is my favorite game of all time. I guess you could say that Persona 5 made me have a change of heart. I had to get at least something in there. But I think that's about it. Like I've said before, maybe it's, you know, being a bit too over dramatic about it. Maybe it's due to something else that I'm just not even noticing. But I really do feel like this sort of change in my cognition has been because of the game. And I just wanted to talk about it for 16 minutes. I didn't expect it to go on for 16 minutes. I thought it would be gone by 10. But yeah, that's about all I think I really have to say. I know this is the second sort of rambly video that I've done in a row. Should be back to normal stuff soon. But I wanted to do this, and I didn't really want to script it. Mostly because I would have thought way too hard about it if I had scripted it, and it would have probably turned out bad. But we should be back to regular, normal content soon. I am trying out with other unscripted videos still, but more on the content that I actually make. Hopefully it'll be a little while before we get one of these rambly, just random things that I do. So that's all for now, and I will see you guys next time.